Before Light Falls. A story by Stephen Creeks. Read for free at stephencreeks.com.
Chapter 6. When I stepped out of the infirmary, the cold hit me right in the face. It wasn't snowing anymore, but it was winter cold, even though it was August. Outside, Morris was smoking, leaning against the wall. When he saw me, he gave a small wave.
Is he still sleeping?
Yes. The thiopental knocked him out. I've never seen anyone resist barbiturates like him. I'll relieve Captain Daniels in an hour.
The colonel handed me a cigarette and tossed me his lighter. I lit one while looking at the sky, a cloudless, starless sky.
What are you thinking about, Grant?
I took a drag, my heart still heavy.
Permission to speak freely, Colonel?
Grant, damn it. We've been speaking freely since Henderson, so don't give me that crap.
I don't believe it.
Maurice planted his eyes in mine. Damn, his eyes freaked me out.
You don't believe it? Or you don't want to believe it?
Everything that's been happening since yesterday is unbelievable. But what he says about Earth, what's going to happen?
Why would he lie to us?
I don't know, Colonel. I figure this is exactly the kind of idea the Russians would spread.
To what end?
To create a diversion. They invented this end-of-the-world story to make us lower our guard and catch us cold.
He gave a brief, almost sad smile.
A Russian trick, huh? Follow me, Grant.
The icy wind whipped our ears, carrying a metallic smell, the kind you smell just before a thunderstorm, except there wasn't one on the horizon. We walked along the administration building, then a row of barracks plunged in semi-darkness. The base seemed asleep, but I could hear something. A low, electric hum, like a generator pushed too hard. And the further we went, the more that sound drilled into my eardrums. Morris stopped in front of a massive hangar, Hangar 7, a building never used, at least not officially. Two soldiers in NBC gear stood guard, filter masks screwed onto their faces. When they saw us, they immediately stood at attention and opened the heavy sliding doors.
We go in without gear?
We aren't working here, Grant. Besides, the guys are wearing that because they're scared. They think the suit will protect them. There hasn't been any radiation since this morning. Not here, not at zones A or B. That too is incomprehensible. The radioactivity just evaporated. Look at this, and tell me if what you see makes me think of the Russians.
I entered behind him. A breath of air saturated with ozone and chemicals hit us. The racket was coming from inside. In the center of the hangar, resting on a huge flatbed towed by tanks, sat Carter's craft. Under the floodlights, I finally saw the details that had escaped me last night. The thing was immense, a sort of giant boomerang or abyssal manta ray cast in an unknown metal. But the most disturbing part was its texture. Our planes shine, they reflect light. Not this one. It was matte black, absolute. It drank the light of the projectors without giving anything back. The cockpit was just a slight bump on top, barely visible. The jet intakes? It took me a minute to find them. They were hidden on top, two narrow slits, invisible from below. As for the exhaust nozzles, there weren't any, just flat grates at the rear above the wing, and no fin, no tail, nothing to stabilize it. Around it, teams in radiation suits were busy, some taking Geiger readings, others photos. Further away, they were trying to cut a section of the hull, without success. The circular saw screeched against the metal without even leaving a scratch. Morris approached, arms crossed.
It took 2 tanks, a bulldozer, and a helicopter from Nevada to bring it here. The earth around it. Grant, it was vitrified 3 inches deep. Like glass. A phenomenon, unknown.
I couldn't take my eyes off the machine. Despite the power of the floodlights, This dark mass looked like an immense tombstone.
The shape has nothing aeronautical about it. No fuselage, no wings, no fin. It looks like a spearhead, something designed to slice through the air, reduce drag. And this hull looks like it's a single block. No rivets, no panels, no assembly lines, nothing. You couldn't even make a model of it. And the Russians aren't any better than us. They can't even fly a rocket for 10 minutes without it exploding. So this? No, Grant. Carter wasn't sent by the Russians, and neither was this machine. As incredible as it seems, this thing wasn't built in 1955. So yes, I believe him, because he has no reason to lie to us. And I believe he comes from the future. He gave us credible details without hiding anything. Credible, even if we don't understand everything.
Morris inhaled, his voice dropping lower.
And what he says about the sun is terrifying. But it could be true.
It could be true. That idea went through me like a cold blade. I remembered everything Carter had told us, every single damn word. And his words still haunt me today, years later. He was lying on his bed, staring at a point we couldn't see. His voice was trembling. He spoke of the future the way one speaks of a nightmare one has never really left. It was more painful for him to remember it than for us to hear it.
I learned in school that the sun was supposed to last another 4 billion years, he had told us. We were wrong. In 2083, it was dying. Some scientists tried to warn us, but no one wanted to listen. When I was selected by NASA in 2080, a group approached me. They called themselves the Guardians. At first, I thought it was a cult, one more among many. I was wrong. Those people didn't believe, they knew. It wasn't a hypothesis for them. All life was condemned to disappear. It was a certainty. They convinced me to get on their list, the list of those who would survive when everyone else died. I accepted. My wife and daughter are on that list.
What convinced you, Carter?
He raised his head, eyes looking lost in another world.
It wasn't a single piece of evidence. It was an accumulation of scientific data. Proof we couldn't ignore or dispute. They showed me radioheliograms, just a black spot on the edge of the solar disk. Almost nothing. That almost nothing was a black hole. It had formed near the sun, a black hole the size of an apple, but with the mass of the Earth. At that distance, Carter continued, it was going to disrupt the sun's core, accelerate the fusion reactions. The sun was going to become 2 or 3 times brighter and...
Morris intervened, raising his hands.
Stop, Carter, wait. I'm having trouble following you. A black hole. What is that exactly?
Carter remained silent for a second. He seemed to be searching for his words.
A black hole is... it's a dead star. Not just any star. One that collapsed so much on itself that it became smaller than a grain of dust.
He placed his thumb and index finger a few millimeters apart.
And yet, it weighs more than Everest. A star so compact that nothing can escape it. Not even light.
Wait, you are telling me there exists a kind of star that sucks up light?
It's not sucked up, it's trapped. Nothing can get out. Not light, not sound, not matter. It's like a bottomless pit in space. And this pit formed too close to the sun, way too close. At a distance where it acts like a parasite, a cancer at the heart of the star.
I felt a shiver run up my back, a cold sweat.
And that accelerated the death of the sun?
Yes, Sergeant. The black hole didn't snuff out the sun like blowing out a candle. No, it drained it of its energy.
He passed a hand over his forehead, as if still searching for the strength to continue.
As soon as it formed, it immediately disrupted the sun's mechanics. It was suffocating from the inside. It became hotter, more unstable. We started spotting abnormal variations in its light flux. Small things at first. But then everything accelerated.
Accelerated? How?
Around 2083, instruments started recording an increase in brightness that no model could explain. 2%, then 3, then 10. It was as if the sun wasn't warming us anymore, but starting to burn us. Every day, a little more. At that time, governments were still trying to reassure people. Natural cycles, no cause for alarm. When the truth became impossible to hide, it was already too late. Rivers dried up, crops burned in the fields in a week, and the ocean levels started dropping visibly. We thought it would take millennia. It took a few months.
I felt a terrible cold in my stomach.
That's when I received the signal, a coded message on my phone. I was prepared for it. I had to leave everything, grab my bags, pick up Laura and Lily, my wife and daughter, and head to a secure site, underground. Cellar 1. That's exactly what we did. In that shelter, there weren't just human beings. There were also animals. The Guardians had imagined this sanctuary as a sort of Noah's Ark, a place to survive, for a time.
He asked for water. I hurried to give him some. Carter continued, voice weaker.
After that, we watched the end of humanity on television. The first coastal zones lost tens of yards of water, then hundreds. Steam saturated the atmosphere. Nights were hotter than days. Rain fell, boiling. And then people understood, and everything collapsed. Looting, riots, murders, rapes, neighbors killing each other for a glass of water. Cities became infernos. Governments couldn't.
Looting, riots, murders, rapes, neighbors killing each other for a glass of water. Cities became infernos. Governments couldn't keep up anymore. Even the army didn't hold. Soldiers deserted to find their families. There was no one left in charge.
And after that?
After that, the sun died. Well, it collapsed. We thought it would become a red giant in billions of years, but the black hole had weakened it. It burned everything faster. Then it folded in, like a light bulb blowing out. And the light falls. It's an expression from my daughter, Lily. Daddy, it looks like the light falls. Ice crystals were already forming in the atmosphere. People froze where they stood. A permanent winter. Journalists reported events until the end, maybe hoping their last words would be preserved somewhere. And then, nothing more. No more signal. Nothing. We were alone, maybe 100 men and women, the last living humans on a dead Earth.
A heavy silence fell. We were digesting Carter's information without being able to believe it. Morris cleared his throat.
What did your shelter look like?
It needed a geologically stable zone, deep, isolated, built in secret decades earlier for a handful of humans. A colossal shelter, buried so deep no climate change, no radiation could reach it. They called this place Cellar 1. We had all been selected. There were scientists, engineers, doctors, and their families. The Guardians chose me for my piloting skills.
Where is this Cellar 1 located?
Somewhere in the Arctic. I don't know the exact position. We reached a coastal base by boat, then finished the trip by helicopter, like all the others.
Carter, earlier you talked about a mission. Can you tell us more?
Yes. As I told you, I was selected because I was one of the few humans capable of piloting a Suncor. You need physical endurance and intellectual capacities well above average to pilot that machine. I was adapted for it.
Adapted?
Yes, I am a regen. Before my birth, my parents chose to give me synthetic genetic material to survive cryostasis, to take the speeds of the Q-wave, and for other things, everything I would need to become an astronaut.
I felt nauseous. Modifying a human being? Like tinkering with an engine? It was unnatural. How could parents do that to their children? Creating Frankensteins, the idea made me want to vomit. It coincided with Daniel's report, the compact bone structure, the blood viscosity, his multiplied strength. Carter stopped. His eyes filled with tears.
And that's why the Guardians selected me. They had a completely crazy idea. Desperate. But it was our only hope. To live on the surface again, in the open air. A hope I just threw away by crashing near an American base. In 1955.
Carter remained silent for a moment, as if he had no more words. His shoulders slumped. He seemed to shrink under the weight of everything he had just said. He put a hand to his forehead.
I am so tired, he whispered. So tired.
His eyelids snapped shut. For a moment, I thought he was going to faint. Morris took a step forward, hesitated, finally put a hand on his shoulder.
That's enough for today, Carter. Rest. We'll talk about your mission tomorrow.
Carter didn't answer. His breathing was steady. He was just sleeping. I had stayed near him for a long time, shaken by his confidences, before leaving the infirmary to find Morris outside. But the calm of the infirmary seemed very far away now. Here, planted in the middle of the hangar, I stared at this machine from another time. This black hull, this impossible design, everything matched Carter's story. I felt my last certainties collapse. Morris was right. Carter wasn't lying. He really came from the future, as incredible as it might seem.
He spoke of a mission, Colonel. What do you think that mission was?
Morris sighed, long, eyes lost in the void. I don't know a damn thing, Grant. Bringing light back to Earth, I imagine. But I don't know how he was supposed to do it.
How can you relight the sun?
You don't relight a star, Grant. When it dies, it becomes a white dwarf. End of story. That's what I remember from astronomy class in military school. Classes I didn't give a damn about back then, seeing as they promised us the sun had another 5 billion years left.
The sound of hurried footsteps, echoing against the hangar metal, interrupted us. A young soldier burst from the shadows, out of breath, and froze at attention in front of the colonel. Morris returned his salute, annoyed.
What is going on, Bradford? At ease.
The soldier remained stiff. He was pale.
Colonel, I just came from Site A. The recovery team, we were gathering the debris from the second crash.
Yes, and so? Spit it out.
Bradford swallowed with difficulty, as if his throat was dry.
Something happened, Colonel. The debris we had marked, the fuselage pieces.
He sought Morris's gaze, eyes wide with fear.
They disappeared.
What do you mean, disappeared? Someone stole the material?
No, Colonel. They just vanished. The marker tags are still on the ground, but in the middle, there is nothing left. Not a trace. As if the craft had never existed.